Jørgen Wiberg. Welcome to the Trips and Global on Wheels podcast hour.
Can you see me?
I can see you. Yes.
Okay.
So I'm going to read a brief bio about you, and then we will start. Does that sound good with you?
Absolutely.
Welcome. So I found a bio online by PINC Experience. I thought did a really good job of capturing what you do and your app. So I'm going to read that really quick. So the color of a tie or a t-shirt, the ultimate date for use on a milk carton, or the number on a bus stop. Usually visually impaired people sometimes need to know what they can't see. Jørgen Wiberg, who started to lose his sight at age 25, knows the challenges all too well. When he learned that a friend used FaceTime to overcome this problem, he thought of a better idea. Because FaceTime is limited to friends, and friends may not always be available, Wiberg, who had been working for several Danish organizations for the blind and visually impaired since 2005, imagined an app that would make random contact with a seeing volunteer. With the help of a young business student, Christian Erfurt, is that how you pronounce his name? Can you hear? Yes?
Exactly.
Christian Erfurt.
Yes.
Okay, he developed the app Be My Eyes, launched in 2015. Today, Be My Eyes is a worldwide service helping 67,000 blind and visually impaired people in 182 different languages. Already, I'm sure there are more volunteers by now, so I will let you share the statistics in a bit. So the main ingredients in Be My Eyes is trust, says Wiberg, who studied philosophy. And I quote, "I don't think it's a coincidence that Be My Eyes was made here in Scandinavia. We have a very high degree of trust in each other. I hope that Be My Eyes can export trust to the rest of the world." Quoting you, of course. So let's continue that conversation on your fabulous app. So what are the challenges of involving people who you are developing for? I know you're a big believer in that, and because of that, the development process is quite lengthy.
Well, I don't really think there is any challenges. I see it as a huge advantage, simply because you avoid many mistakes. I am now almost blind myself, but in 2012, when we started this, I was low vision, and there's a huge difference between being real blind and low vision. And the fact that we had access to so many blind people who could guide us and help my developers do the right thing. And also, whenever we had developed a new step, we could ask someone to test it and give feedback and so on. And I'm sure that has saved us a lot of trouble and also a lot of time, simply by getting it maybe not right the first time, but at least one of the first times. So developing together with the community is essential, and we are strong, as you mentioned. We are a strong believer in nothing about us without us, and I think that's the most efficient, really, way to do it. So yeah, thank you for asking.
Yeah, thank you. So, what was it like developing the app? As we read in the bio, you're a philosophy major, which was a surprise for me to learn. What was it like developing the Be My Eyes app without any of the direct technical background? What would you say are the pros and cons of leading a team through that?
Well, I have no idea how to make an app, so I had to rely on other people doing that. I know the blind people, and I knew how to facilitate that part of it. And I am also a strong believer in teamwork. So my CEO and I, we managed to find the right developers who could actually do this, and then we help them be better developers by having access to the blind people and all that. So it was an amazing time in my life, really, because we were struggling with this on a daily basis, but we also experienced the wins together with the blind people and so on. So we kind of knew we were on the right path all the time, and we could kind of see, okay, this can actually work and so on. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it's also very empowering. Like, even though you didn't have the direct skill software developing or mobile app development, you still took on the responsibility of bringing this idea to the world. Uh, so, what are three advice you would give to yourself now that you have gone through the whole process of working with a team to develop Be My Eyes that you would have liked to know before you started the whole process?
Well, normally I don't give that much advice to other because it's very different from a situation to situation. But I think that the most important thing for me was to have this team around me, and of course have your family involved as well, so they know why you are not at home and why you're thinking about something else from the beginning. It's super important to have a team around your idea and have different people, different genders and different age, and also people who are blind and people who are not blind and so on. That is what makes a great product, in my opinion. And I mean, I would never have been able to do this on my own. So the team thing is, I cannot say how much this is the main thing that has been driving Be My Eye to what it is today. So yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. Having a team, even if you had the direct skill sets of developing a mobile app, being able to work with a team of all different backgrounds and from all over the world, now as well, it is so crucial. So what's your ultimate dream with Be My Eyes? Have you reached that dream already?
Well, I have reached many of the goals. I will correct you a little bit. We now have more than 600,000 blind and low vision people signed up. And we have well over 7 million volunteers globally. So that is more than I had ever dreamed about. And we have grown into be the biggest community of blind people in the world. And I'm pretty sure there is bigger online communities, but 7 million is one of the biggest online communities. And at least in the blind space, we are definitely the biggest. So that is more than I could ever dream about. But of course, when you think about there is 250 million blind and low vision people in the world, then suddenly 600,000, that's not a whole lot. So we believe we can grow Be My Eyes tenfold more than it is today. We also have to recognize that a lot of the people who are blind, they are also very old and maybe not even on any kind of smartphone. And also a lot of people live in countries where they cannot afford to have even a cheaper version of an Android phone or something. So there's a lot of people we simply can't reach, but we try to, and that's also why Be My Eyes is a free service to use, because we realize that many of the people we want to help, they will not be able to pay $10 a month for anything. So it was a very firm decision from the first weekend we talked about this, when I presented this idea, that it should be a free service so we could help as many people as possible. And I'm super proud that we have been able to stick to that philosophy from from day one and until now. So yeah.
That's wonderful. And I think it is also amazing how you've been able to expand the app and have so many people involved, whether it's people who are blind or volunteers, and have it be a free app. And at the same time, make it a sustainable business model. That's wonderful how you've done that. So the next set of questions will be a bit more personal. So, how has majoring in philosophy made you a better disability advocate, especially for those who are blind?
Well, first of all, I didn't graduate, so, so that takes some responsibility away from me. Um, but I really believe that the fact that I did study for a number of years has made me understand the different. I mean, there is so many different life situations, and I have learned so much about the difference between being a blind person in Denmark and being a blind person in Kenya or US or for that matter. And of course, you can understand that without studying philosophy. But for me, I think it has given me a better perspective of the different situations in different countries and so on. So in that sense, it has been helpful. So.
Yeah. And then when you're not working on the app or working with your team, um, what what are some of your hobbies?
Well, my wife has a upholstery business where she puts new fabrics on old furnitures. And when I'm done answering emails and having meetings and so on, I love to join her in her workshop and do whatever I can together with her. And so that's kind of my hobby. And then we have started running together, which I have not done before. So that's also very exciting. So that, I think that's kind of my main hobbies or whatever you call them. So yeah.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And I'm sure, um, I think whether it's for people who are blind or people with other sorts of disabilities, it's always good to get representation in various facets of life. And so I wanted to ask you a little bit about on the more personal end on dating and being a parent. I know that you and your wife have two daughters and you've raised two daughters. So the first one being, how is dating different for people who are blind? What are the nuances of that?
Well, it's one of the subjects that is getting brought up very often because when you are a young person and you want to go out and find someone to date and so on, then you always have this question: should I kind of reveal from start that I'm blind or low vision, or should I kind of hide it and then see how it goes, and then suddenly drop the bomb? And that is very, very difficult. And I believe that you should be pretty straight out honest about it from the beginning, and then find the person who can see through that. um, but that's just me, and I have no idea what what the right tactic is. um, but it's really difficult, very, very difficult. A lot of blind people ending up dating blind people, not only because um, they are blind, because it can be very nice to be together with someone who really understands your situation, being blind themselves. And I have tremendous respect for that. I very much enjoy being together with my sighted wife, but I can easily understand how people can see the benefit of living together with someone who is also blind, simply because it gets they get this deep understanding of what it is to be blind. Because if you're not, you cannot really understand it, even though you have been living with a blind person all your life. There is something that you simply need to experience on your own body, so to speak. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. So was that your experience with your wife being very straightforward about um your disability and then she being able to see through it?
Yeah. It's when my wife and we met. I had it was only I had a really good central vision. So it was only when it was dark that I couldn't really see. But I was not allowed to drive the car at that time and so on. And she was a friend of my sister, so she kind of knew something about it, and so it wasn't a surprise in that way. So yeah.
Yeah, and as we mentioned a little bit ago, you are married and have two kids. So what are the challenges and or advantages of raising two daughters while being blind or visually impaired, more accurately?
Well, I I believe, and I believe I can see that my daughters has a really good understanding of people in other situations, and so on. So I hope that the fact that they have been grown up with me as a blind person gives them a broader view, and also a respect for people who are in another situation and so on. Right now, I have the privilege of working together with one of my daughters who is employed by Be My Eyes. So we have a work relationship as well. So that's absolutely wonderful. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. So she works with you on Be My Eyes. Um,
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
So I know, as we've said a couple times now, you started going blind much later in life at the age of 25. So how does it seems like an obvious question, but perhaps it is a stupid question, but how does it feel to be blind?
Well, you see, when I started to lose my vision around 25, I'm 60 years old now, and for many years I was able to read the text on my phone, and my vision simply got more and more narrow, and then a year ago I completely lost the. I couldn't read the text anymore. Uh, so you can say I have been low vision, but able to read, but now I basically can't see anything more. So it has been a change the last year where I really had to learn some of the blind skills that I had been kind of a little lazy to to do, but certainly I really needed to step up the game using voiceover and learning to navigate outside as well, not relying on the little site that I had. So that has been a learning curve the last year here, and I have also been a little surprised how difficult some things are, but yeah, I get by. So,
Yeah, and I'll let you elaborate a little bit more with the next question, which is, in your opinion, what's been the hardest part about going blind, and what's been some of the more blissful parts about going blind?
to be honest, I have been preparing for this for 30 years, and so I have not had any downtime, so to speak, and because I knew it was coming, and I was as prepared as I could be. Um, Of course, I did need to learn a few things, but nothing major. And maybe I'm super optimistic person in general, so I always believe that, oh, we can get by with this. So, but I realized that it's very, very different from person to person how you react on situations. But having a wonderful wife and my kids and so on supporting me. There wasn't anything that I kind of really was worried about. But of course, I miss seeing something. And but again, I knew it was coming, so I have kind of been adjusted to it for a while, I think, without really thinking too much about it. But it's yeah. So,
Yeah, because as we said earlier, right, since age 25, and you're 60 now. And so it's
mm,
been very much a gradual process. Um, Even so, you were saying earlier, you want to gain some of the skills that would make it easier to be blind, such as voiceover. Um,
yeah,
so the
exactly. Yeah, yeah, and that was, I think, maybe the only thing that surprised me a little, how it's not super easy to use voiceover, and there's so many things that takes a lot longer. Editing text, for instance, if you make a spelling error and so on, getting back and correct that's kind of a annoyingly troublesome thing to do. And now I'm basically dictating because that makes it easier to have the right spelling, and then it is most likely the whole word that's wrong, and that's kind of easier to delete and say it again and so on. But voiceover is one of the things that I have been working the most with in this transition from being a low vision to being blind. So yeah.
Yeah. Is there any technology or any kind of invention that can make that process easier?
Well, actually, you ask a little bit about my dreams. One of the dreams I have is that we can make a learning education environment within the Be My Eyes app, because when you go blind in these days, 2024, being online and so on is essential. Even just being able to make a FaceTime call with your loved ones and so on. But you do need to have some basic skills. And I believe we can make a learning environment within the app where blind people can teach each other. And that's one of the things that I dream about, that Be My Eyes can also be a platform for that, which we are not right now. Now you can get assistance from a sighted person, but you cannot call another blind person and ask, how do I do this? And I would love if we can make that an option as well. So,
Yeah, that's wonderful. That would be great once that comes out as a feature. And speaking of dreams, I one of the things I've been wanting to create, and I even assembled a team a few years ago to create, was an app that it's very the model is very similar to yours, which is to recruit volunteers to help people with mobility disabilities with filling their cars with fuel. Because as you know, some people, I myself am a wheelchair user due to scoliosis and polio. And so, like, even though I can get out of the car and put fuel in it, it's just quite cumbersome getting the wheelchair in and getting the wheelchair out and assembling and deassembling. And so, I thought developing an app for people with mobilities in the US, since I live in the US, and later expanding to the rest of the world would be wonderful. But as you know, even better than that process is very tedious, and I also do not have the direct skill
I have
sets.
two comments about that. One of
Okay.
the well, first one, when my wife and I is doing that, I get out and put the gas in the tank, because that's one of the things I can actually do, even though I'm blind. So you just need to find a blind person to bring along. And the thing is that this is maybe one of the only places where the good old days were actually better, where you drove into a gas station, and then there will be someone running out and filling the gas into your car for you. But that doesn't happen anymore. But yeah, that's really interesting. But I think that's a great idea. If and I think you will find that a lot of people will sign up. Um, of course, there's a lot of logistics around this, but people really want to help. So if you could make the app work the right way and get the word out there and so on, I think this should be absolutely possible. So yeah.
Yeah, I've assembled a team, like I said, and we worked on it for a year, and then due to budget and time constraints, has stalled. And different from the Be My Eyes app, there's a little bit more into that go into it just because people are coming in person, right? They're meeting with
Yeah,
another
exactly. Yeah, yeah,
car, they're meeting with
yeah,
another
yeah,
individual to help
yeah,
with that whole process. Whereas Be My Eyes, it's purely virtual.
yeah.
And and the
And
whole
that makes a
process
huge difference. Yes, exactly. Yeah.
and the whole process, as you've shared, takes less than 3 minutes for 90% of the calls. Whereas this
Mm.
whole process will take a lot more time than that.
Yeah, and yeah, you have to meet in a specific place and all that. That makes it more complicated. So yeah.
So my question was, what is your recommendation from what you've learned from developing Be My Eyes, on making that process easier for me and the team that I am trying to build to get this app out there for people with mobility disabilities?
Well, for Be My Eyes, also, I mean, making it into a sustainable business. We have managed to find some investors who has invested into Be My Eyes, but of course, they do want their money back. So inventing a way to make it a sustainable business is super important. I don't know how you could do that, because I know that it takes surprisingly much money to run an app. It needs to be updated. It needs to be available on different platforms, and then all that. And the way we have done it is, which I'm super proud of. It wasn't my idea, but. When you are on the Be My Eyes platform, you can call a volunteer, but you can also call a company like Google and Microsoft and Spotify, LinkedIn, and a number of other companies. Uh, and we help them be better companies for their blind customers. And they are so happy about it. So they are willing to pay Be My Eyes a monthly subscription, and that is how we can keep Be My Eyes as a free service for all blind people in this world. And at the same time, we help the companies provide even better support for their blind customers, because when you are calling through the Be My Eyes app, they know it's a blind person. So they can make sure that those people who are familiar with blindness, or at least know what a screen reader is and so on, they are the ones who get the calls from Be My Eyes, because they know it's a blind person calling. So that is really a win-win-win situation for everybody. And especially Microsoft has been the driver in our business model. They even helped us get Google on board, which I was kind of surprised about. But even the biggest tech companies in the world, they are working together, and all these people, they know each other in this accessible accessibility area. So if you talk to someone in Apple, they exactly know who in Microsoft and Google has the same position as themselves, and these people meet at conferences and so on. So it is kind of a huge community, you can say, and we have been lucky to be part of that and get these companies on board, and that is exactly how we can sustain Be My Eyes as a business. And I think it's important for the long term that you do have a way to sustain a business. It could be by donations or something like that, but you need to respect that it takes quite some money to run an app. So yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. The reality with the logistics, in providing the financial means to fund the whole process. And that's great that you've been able to get Microsoft and Google, some of the biggest companies in the world, to get on board with it. And I'm not surprised because it's such a great mission. It's helping so many people. And you put in a lot of time and effort, you and your team, into getting this idea out there. I know personally because of having made quite the effort to get my app idea out there and having it be stalled and experiencing all the challenges that goes into trying to get an idea out there into the world. So that's wonderful.
It's a lot of work to get an app all the way through, and that's also why I mean I think I said it before, but I would never have been able to do this on my own. So having a lot of people around who have different skill set, and also you have your network, but if you have 10 people on your network in your team, then they also have a network, and somebody knows somebody who has a lot of money and so on. And that is how you can kind of multiply your network, so to speak. So
Yeah, that's a good point. And I know before that you were working with I think Danish Blind Federation, right?
exactly.
And telling them about different services pe- for people who are blind, such as audiobooks. Is that right? I
Exactly, yes. I was hired as a consultant for the Danish Blind Federation, and my job was to visit blind people in their home and tell them about activities and audiobooks and braille and all kind of skills that they, if they wanted to, could learn, and how they could get started in that process. And that was a wonderful job I had there. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so you're very much familiar not only of your like personal experience, but people that you are working with. You got really familiar with your target market, the end user. I guess
Mm.
I'm curious as to, in terms of funding, what was really the catalyst that shot you into the moon in terms of this project? Um, and there are like certain pivotal moments, right? What was that first pivotal moment for you, for developing Be My Eyes?
Well, Be My Eyes started out as a non-profit, and we got the first $300,000 from one of the biggest foundations here in Denmark. And when we had spent those money, we thought, okay, will try if we can get more money from different foundations. But that turned out to be really difficult. And we, with a very difficult situation, we decided to flip the company to a for-profit company, and then we had to develop the business plan, including Microsoft as our first customer and so on. But flipping it from a nonprofit to a for-profit was not an easy decision to make. I'm super happy we did it, because that made it possible for us to get some investors into Be My Eyes. I think that most of course, investors want their money back, but I'm sure that the people who has put money into Be My Eyes, they have a little more patience with us than they have with other investments they have made. I think simply because we are what we are in this business, and I'm super grateful for what they have done, and also I'm super proud to say that they have never ever questioned that Be My Eyes should be a free service. I mean, it could easily be there was some investors who think, "Oh, can the blind person pay, at least pay something?" But that has never been brought up, and I'm super proud that they really bought into the idea behind Be My Eyes and so on. So yeah, so that's just wonderful to experience.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. And so, in closing, what are some last words you want to say in terms of Be My Eyes and how people can get involved or partner with you or work with you if they're interested?
Well, first of all, you can sign up. You can sign up as a blind person, and you can sign up as a volunteer, and we are very happy about that. If you have a company that is relevant for blind people, we have a service directory where we would like to list the phone number of the company. So one of the things that is really, really annoying, especially as a blind person, is how to find a phone number to a company. Uh, and we have decided to make this service directory where you can have your company listed, so blind people can easily find the number to call you. And we believe that that's a good service, and that is one of the things that you could really make a difference, making your company accessible to the blind community as well, so who are also customers. And usually we say that if you are good to a blind person, then the blind person's friends and family will go shopping at your shop. So it's not only being a good person, it's also good business for you to be a good company, and kind of show that within the blind community. So.
Thank you again, Hans, Jorgen, Wiberg, for joining the Trips and Global on Wheels podcast. I know we got timed out, but I really appreciate you for joining me from Copenhagen, Denmark today. And I hope everybody learned something from this episode. I know I sure learned a lot. And feel free to message back with feedback after the episode if there's anything we could do better, or if there's a specific episode that you would like me to cover on a certain topic. And with that, that's a wrap. So I will connect with you guys next week.